Hey y'all, DT Neal, still talking about writerly things, storytelling, genre, and the like. Just a few more points I wanted to make about the thing I just posted, or about people who may love some of your stories, some of your books, and then but they don't read any other ones, despite loving the ones that they wrote. For me, I'm a big, in terms of like movie watching, or also, frankly, books too. I stick with authors. For me as a kid, for example, like Ray Bradbury was a big one. I just read all of his stuff. Of course, as a kid, I read Stephen King too. Definitely read a lot of his stuff for sure. J.D. Salinger, I stuck with him. I read read all of his work. There's other examples of that. Shirley Jackson, Flannery O'Connor, Barry Hannah, people like that. I've read more than just like one book by them. I like their books. I like their way with words. Hemingway, another example. Mark Twain. Mark Twain was a huge one for me as a kid. But anyway, I stick with them. And I do that with movies too. Like if there's a director or even an actor, but it's especially for me, directors. If I like the way a director works, how they shoot their movies, how they do their movies, I'll stick with that director. Like they've proven themselves to me. Like I go, wow, I really like the way they did such and such a thing, and I want to like see what else they do. I'm loyal that way. I will stick to them, stick with them, and see what else they can do. Because I think it's interesting when you see somebody who has a particular style. And for me, as a young fella, Kubrick was that way. Stanley Kubrick was huge for me. I just devoured all of his work. I was fascinated by his work. Ridley Scott, for a period of time, was very, like, I just remember just being fascinated by how he did movies. There's any number of examples. David Fincher, how they do the work that they do is itself interesting for me. That journey, more than just a single movie that they did, versus a body of work. Because once you start to see a body of work and you go, this is all really good stuff. Terry Gilliam is another example. I mean, I could keep going. Like I could go on and on about them. Francis Ford Coppola, there were a number of his that will endure forever in my mind, and his approach. John Landis, for a time, he had an interest, just his approach to things. I like those. Spielberg goes almost without saying. He has a very Spielbergian way of doing his movies, which it's entertaining. I just like to see what he does. And you can kind of see motifs and things that they do in their directing, and I like those aspects of it. Just like with writers, you can see ideas that stick with them, things that preoccupy them and their work with language. So I like that. And again, that's me personally, and maybe others aren't like that. Others just treat everything as a one-off, and that's fine. But for me, there's a certain enjoyment of exploring somebody's work across time, and you can really see how they evolve, or in some cases devolve if they start to lose their way. But ideally you're in that journey. And so, if somebody enjoys your work enough to actually review it, you're absolutely, one, is grateful for that. But also, as a creator, as an active creator who's making new things, also kind of want to be like, there's more here. It's a buffet. There's a whole bunch of things here for you, and all made with love. So anyway, just some more random thoughts on that. Not so random. They're actually very specific thoughts. But if you do find somebody whose work you like, and you like it enough to review it, do consider some of the other work that the person has written, and see if you like that as well. It's challenging. I know everyone's pressed for time, and it's very difficult. But if you've enjoyed the journey, it might be worth taking another journey.